All right, so you want to dive into this whole text broker thing, huh? Looks like you're ready to turn words into some cash.
Yeah.
I like the hustle. We've got a ton of resources here on TextBroker, and let me tell you, there's more to this platform than meets the eye.
Yeah, for sure. You're not just pushing out content. There's a whole strategy to it. You got to understand how it works, the little things. And honestly, you got to know how to play the game if you want to make the most money.
Gotcha. So we know TextBroker connects writers with clients that need content. But what really jumped out at me from all this stuff is how important that first writing sample is.
It's everything. That's your first impression, right? A good sample can get you a 4-star rating right away, and that unlocks the good stuff right off the bat. We're talking like twice as much per word from the very beginning.
Whoa, double. Okay, that's some serious motivation to nail that first try. But let's say you get past that hurdle. What kind of work are we actually talking about here?
So TextBroker has 3 main types of assignments: open orders, direct orders, and team orders. Open orders are like your bread and butter when you're starting out. They're always available, but the pay might not be the best.
And then there are those direct orders. Those sound kind of interesting. Clients picking their writers, and maybe even better pay. That sounds promising.
This is where it gets good. What we're seeing in these resources is that getting those direct orders consistently is about more than just good writing. It's about actually building relationships with clients, being on time with your communication, being open to feedback, even just being friendly. All of that adds up.
So it's not just some faceless content machine. You're actually making connections that could lead to better paying and honestly more fulfilling work.
Exactly. And then you have team orders, which are kind of like little content agencies inside the platform. So think about it like a client building a team of writers all focused on, say, sustainable living or something. And then those writers get a constant flow of work in that area.
Okay, I'm starting to see how you could build like a mini business inside of TextBroker if you find the right teams.
You got it. And one thing that keeps coming up in the research is that specialization, picking a specialty within a team order, can really change the game. We're seeing writers in niches like crypto or cybersecurity making way more money.
So instead of trying to do everything, you become like the go-to expert in something specific. Makes sense. But let's back up a bit. You're registered, your profile is all set. How do you actually navigate those open orders and find the good ones?
One strategy that pops up a lot is to go for the longer orders. Might sound weird, but spending, say, 30 minutes on a 500-word piece will often pay better per hour than doing a bunch of little ones.
That's interesting. I always thought the shorter ones meant you could do more faster and make more. But I see how focusing on the bigger ones could be a better use of your time.
And here's a pro tip from a writer who's been doing this for a while. Don't be afraid to pick topics you already know about. Saving time on research is super important for making the most money per hour, especially when you're just starting.
So if you're a fitness junkie, go for those workout articles. If you're a plant person, tackle those gardening guides. I dig it. But how do you avoid those vague orders that end up taking forever and not paying enough?
You gotta read between the lines a little. Look for clients that give you detailed instructions, clear expectations, and hopefully good reviews from other writers. It's like checking Yelp before you pick a restaurant.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. A few bad reviews and, to stay away. Don't want to waste time on a client that's known for being unclear with what they want.
Now with those direct orders, everyone's saying you gotta treat them like mini job applications.
You can't just say, hey, I can write that. You got to show off what you know and make a good case for why you're the right person for the job.
Yep, exactly. You gotta tailor your pitch to what the client needs, highlight any experience that fits, and don't be afraid to let your personality show a little. Remember, you're building a connection, not just bidding on a project.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. Soft skills are just as important as writing skills when it comes to TextBroker.
Absolutely, and that brings us to something people don't always think about: time management. That's super important for any freelancer, especially on a platform like TextBroker.
I can see that. It's easy to get caught up in getting new clients, and then all of a sudden you're drowning in deadlines.
One thing that came up a lot was setting realistic goals for each day or week. Instead of saying, I'm going to write 10,000 words today, break it down like 2 500-word articles before lunch, then research for a bigger one in the afternoon.
So it's all about creating a structure that keeps you from feeling overwhelmed and helps you see your progress, which can be really motivating.
And don't underestimate the power of routine. Have specific work hours, even if you're working from your couch. It helps your brain separate work time from downtime, which is key to avoiding burnout.
That's a good point, because even though it's all online, it's still a job. And like any job, it needs boundaries if you want to keep doing it.
And here's something that might surprise you. Don't feel like you have to say yes to every order that comes your way, especially in the beginning.
Wait, really? I thought the whole point of TextBroker was to take every gig you could get.
Well, yes and no. Early on, it's about being picky, choosing assignments that fit your skills and what you like to write about. That not only makes your work better, but it also helps you avoid burnout.
So it's about playing the long game. You're setting yourself up for success and building a sustainable freelance career by being smart about the projects you take on.
Exactly. And speaking of long-term strategies, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked, avoiding scams.
Okay, this is something I'm always worried about online. What should we watch out for?
One of the biggest red flags is if a client asks you for free samples or trial work. Real clients get that your time and skills are valuable.
So if someone's asking you to write for free, run the other way. What else should we be on the lookout for?
Another thing is crazy low pay, like just a few cents per word. TextBroker's base rates are already lower than some other platforms, but offers that are way too low are usually a sign of exploitation.
So know your worth. Don't undervalue your skills. And I guess that goes for dealing with difficult clients too. Is there any advice from the sources on how to handle those tricky situations?
Oh, definitely. One thing that kept coming up was clear communication. If a client is being unreasonable or too demanding, don't be afraid to set boundaries, nicely but firmly.
So if a client keeps changing the instructions or asking for revisions that are totally outside of what you agreed on, it's okay to push back and stand up for yourself.
Exactly. And remember, you always have the option to decline an order or end a contract if a client is constantly difficult or disrespectful.
Okay, good to know. It's easy to feel powerless as a freelancer, but knowing you have those options is empowering.
And here's another tip that really resonated with me. Document everything. Keep records of all your communication with clients, especially if there are any disagreements or changes to the project.
So if a client tries to pull something shady, you've got proof. That's smart.
And speaking of being smart, let's talk about something that can really boost your earnings on TextBroker. Leveling up your start rating.
Okay, we've touched on this a bit, but I'm ready for the details. How does this rating system actually work?
It's based on client feedback and TextBroker's own quality checks. As you complete orders and get good reviews, your rating goes up.
And a higher rating gets you higher paying jobs, right? What if you feel like you're stuck at a certain level?
The good news is TextBroker does these reevaluations from time to time. If you've been consistently doing good work and you think your rating doesn't reflect your skills, you can ask for a review.
So it's not set in stone. You have the opportunity to prove yourself and show your growth.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. Pay attention to the feedback you get, both from clients and from TextBroker's editors.
So it's not just about churning out content and hoping for the best. It's about actually learning from each assignment and getting better at your craft.
Precisely. And that leads us to another important strategy for success on TextBroker: specialization.
Right, we talked about finding a niche and becoming an expert in a specific field. But how do you actually choose a niche that's both profitable and something you enjoy?
A lot of it comes down to finding where your passions and skills line up with what the market wants. What are you genuinely interested in writing about? What topics do you find yourself reading about in your free time?
So if you're obsessed with cryptocurrency and spend all your time reading about blockchain, maybe that's a sign you found your niche.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to test the waters. Write some sample pieces in different niches and see what clicks for you and what clients seem to be looking for.
So it's all about experimenting and finding something that feels good and pays well.
And remember, your niche can change over time. As you get more experience and explore new areas, you might discover new passions or untapped markets.
This is starting to feel less like a content mill and more like a journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of freelancing. You have the freedom to shape your career and do work that aligns with your interests and values.
I'm feeling inspired. But let's be real. Freelance life has its ups and downs. How do we stay motivated when those inevitable moments of doubt or rejection creep in?
One of the most effective strategies is to focus on the bigger picture. Why did you choose this path? What are your long-term goals?
So when you're feeling down, reconnect with your purpose and remind yourself what you're working towards.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of small wins. Landed a new client, hit a personal income goal, finished a tough assignment. Celebrate those victories.
It's about giving yourself those little boosts to stay motivated and recognize your progress. And I bet having a supportive community helps too.
For sure. Connect with other freelancers, share tips, vent about the tough stuff, and celebrate each other's successes. Knowing you're not alone in this can make a huge difference.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like we've gone deeper than just the surface of TextBroker and really explored the mindset and strategies for building a real freelance writing career.
I agree. And I hope our listener feels empowered and excited to start this journey armed with the knowledge and tools they need to thrive.
Well said. But before we wrap up this first part, I want to touch on one more super important part of freelancing that people often forget: managing your finances.
You're absolutely right. It might not be the most exciting part, but it's crucial for long-term success.
So we're talking about actually treating freelance writing like a real business here, not just some side gig, which, to be honest, can be kind of scary.
Yeah, it can be, especially if you're used to having a regular job with a boss and all that. But the cool thing is, you're the boss now. You make the decisions, set your own hours, and ultimately, you control how much you can earn.
True. But that also means being responsible for things like taxes and saving for retirement, even figuring out health insurance. It's a whole different world.
For sure. One of the sources actually suggested setting up separate bank accounts, one for your business stuff like income and expenses, and another for your personal stuff. Makes it way easier to keep track of everything and do your taxes.
That's a great tip. No more digging through receipts when tax season rolls around. But let's get back to the money for a sec, because at the end of the day, that's what motivates most people to try platforms like TextBroker. What can someone realistically expect to make, especially in the beginning?
That's the big question, right? But everything we've read says it really depends. Your star rating, the kind of assignments you pick, and honestly, how much time and effort you're willing to put in.
So no magic formula or guaranteed income. It's all about building a business, getting better at what you do, and treating it like a real job.
Exactly. One writer we read about, who now makes a full-time living from TextBroker, started with a really specific goal: replace her income from her part-time coffee shop job within 6 months.
So she had a clear target and worked backwards, figured out how many orders she needed to do at what rate to hit that goal?
Exactly. And she said it was super important to gradually raise her rates as she got more experience and positive feedback from clients.
That makes sense. Don't want to undersell yourself, but you also got to be smart about when and how you ask for more money.
Right. And something else that came up a lot was to think of each direct order like a mini job application.
We talked about that a little earlier, but I want to dig deeper. What does that actually look like in practice?
Think of it like this. You're not just saying, yep, I can write that 500-word blog post about dog grooming.
Oh.
You're showing off your expertise, highlighting any experience that's relevant, maybe even sharing a personal story to connect with the client.
So it's about building a connection, showing your value, and standing out from all the other writers.
You got it. And here's a pro tip from a TextBroker veteran. Don't be afraid to ask happy clients for testimonials.
That's a smart idea. Testimonials are like proof that you're a reliable and talented writer. And those positive reviews can really boost your credibility when you're pitching to new clients or even asking for higher rates.
All right, let's talk about something that can be a real pain for TextBroker writers, dealing with revisions.
Oh yeah, revisions. The writer's worst nightmare. But it's part of the game, right?
Absolutely. But the key is to know the difference between revisions that make the work better and those that are unreasonable and go beyond what you originally agreed on.
So if a client wants a few minor changes to the wording or asks you to add a couple of extra points, that's totally fair.
Right. But if they want you to rewrite the whole thing or add a whole new section that wasn't in the original instructions, that's when you need to set some boundaries.
And I bet being clear in your communication is super important in those situations.
Absolutely. Politely but firmly explain what you understood the project to be and why those revisions are outside of that scope.
So it's about standing up for yourself and your time, but still keeping things professional with the client.
Exactly. And remember, you can always say no to a revision request if it's totally unreasonable or would take a ton of extra work.
Okay, that's good to know. It's easy to feel pressured to say yes to everything, especially when you're new. But knowing you have that option can be empowering.
Let's switch gears a little and talk about building a portfolio, something that can really step up your game on TextBroker.
I'm all ears. A strong portfolio is essential for any freelancer, especially writers, right? It's your chance to show off what you can do and attract potential clients.
Exactly. One key takeaway from all these sources is that your TextBroker portfolio should be a showcase of your best work. Don't just throw everything you've ever written in there.
So it's about being picky and choosing pieces that highlight your expertise in the niche you're targeting.
Exactly. And another thing that came up a lot was to make sure your portfolio is easy to navigate and looks good visually.
So no cluttered pages or walls of text. Think clean design, clear categories, and maybe even some visuals to break things up.
You got it. And remember, your portfolio isn't static, it's a living document. As you gain experience and do new projects, keep it updated with your latest and greatest work.
So it's not a one-time thing. It's about constantly refining and evolving your portfolio to show how you're growing as a writer.
Now let's tackle a challenge a lot of new writers face, building that portfolio when you don't have a lot of paid experience.
I've always wondered about that. How do you show off your skills when you're just starting out?
Several sources suggested creating what's called spec work.
Spec work, what's that?
It's basically writing samples that you create specifically for your portfolio. So let's say you want to write website copy for eco-friendly businesses. You could create a spec piece for a made-up company, showcasing your ability to write compelling and persuasive copy that fits that niche.
So it's like a mock project that demonstrates your skills and understanding of a specific area.
Exactly. And another option is to volunteer your writing skills to nonprofits or community groups.
Oh, that's a great idea. It's a win-win. You get valuable experience and build your portfolio while also doing some good in the world.
Okay, let's talk about something that often confuses new TextBroker writers: direct order pricing.
All right, I definitely want to know more about this. How do you figure out what to charge for those direct orders?
One of the sources gave a really helpful way to think about it. Start with your desired hourly rate. How much do you want to make per hour of work?
So let's say you want to earn $30 an hour, and you figure a direct order will take about 2 hours to complete. You charge $60 for the project.
Exactly. But here's where it gets a little tricky. You also need to consider things like how complex the project is, the client's budget, and your own level of expertise.
So if it's a super specialized topic that requires a lot of research, you might charge a higher rate.
Right. And another thing to consider is if this could lead to more work with that client.
So if this direct order could turn into a long-term relationship, you might be willing to negotiate a little to secure that opportunity.
You got it. It's all about finding that sweet spot between valuing your time and skills and being strategic about building your client base and increasing your earning potential.
This is starting to feel like a real business strategy session.
And that's the key takeaway. Succeeding on TextBroker and in freelancing in general is about treating your writing like a business.
So we're talking setting goals, managing finances, marketing yourself, and building relationships with clients.
Exactly. And remember, one of the best things about freelancing is the flexibility and freedom it gives you. You control your schedule, your work environment, and ultimately your career path.
That's what drew me to freelancing in the first place.
Yeah.
The autonomy and the ability to create a work life that fits my values and priorities.
And those are huge benefits. But let's be honest, freelancing also has its downsides.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are moments of doubt, rejection, and even loneliness. How do we deal with those tough times and stay motivated for the long haul?
One of the best strategies is to develop a growth mindset. Look at challenges as chances to learn and get better.
So instead of getting discouraged when things go wrong, try to figure out what happened and what you can do differently next time.
Exactly. And remember, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. Every successful freelancer has faced setbacks and rejections. It's how you learn and grow from those experiences that really determines your success.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding failure. It's about seeing it as a necessary part of the learning process.
And another key strategy for staying motivated is to connect with other freelancers who get it. Surround yourself with people who understand the challenges and the wins of this lifestyle.
Find your tribe, right? Join online communities, go to industry events, or even just grab coffee with another freelancer. Sharing experiences, giving each other tips, and offering support can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And don't forget to celebrate your wins. Big or small, acknowledge your accomplishments, give yourself credit for all the hard work you're putting in.
I love that. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to appreciate how far we've come. Celebrating those wins, even the little ones, can be a huge motivator.
Now let's talk about something that can really help you stay on track and achieve your goals: setting SMART goals.
Okay, I've heard of SMART goals, but I'm not really sure what they are or how they apply to freelance writing.
SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So instead of setting a vague goal like make more money, you'd set a specific goal, like land 3 new direct order clients this month.
Exactly. When your goals are specific, measurable, and have a deadline, you can actually track your progress and hold yourself accountable.
That makes a lot of sense. It takes the guesswork out of goal setting and gives you a clear plan to follow. But let's face it, even the best plans can go wrong. How do we handle those setbacks and stay strong when things get tough?
That's a great question, and it's something every freelancer struggles with at some point. One of the best things you can do is see setbacks as opportunities to grow and learn.
So instead of getting down on yourself when things don't work out, try to figure out what went wrong and how you can do better next time.
Exactly. And remember, failing doesn't mean you're not successful, it's just part of the journey. Learn from your mistakes and use them to fuel your growth.
I love that way of looking at it. It's all about changing your perspective and seeing challenges as chances to improve. But let's not forget to celebrate our wins along the way. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to acknowledge what we've accomplished.
Absolutely. Celebrating our wins, big or small, can really boost our morale, keep us motivated, and remind us how far we've come.
So whether it's landing a new client, finishing a challenging project, or even just reaching a personal milestone, take a moment to appreciate your achievements and give yourself credit for all your hard work.
And don't be afraid to share your successes with others. Let your friends, family, and fellow freelancers know about your accomplishments. Not only will it boost your confidence, but it might also inspire someone else to chase their dreams.
I love that. It's all about supporting each other and celebrating everyone's wins. But let's circle back to TextBroker for a minute. We've talked about so many different parts of the platform, but what are some of the biggest challenges writers face on TextBroker?
One of the most common challenges is the low pay for those starting out. When you're new, you'll probably get lower paying gigs as you build your rating and reputation.
So patience and persistence are key. It takes time to establish yourself and start earning a consistent income.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to negotiate your rates as you gain experience and prove your worth.
Right. Know your worth and don't sell yourself short. But what about the competition? There are so many writers on TextBroker. How do you stand out from the crowd?
One of the best ways to set yourself apart is to specialize in a niche and become an expert in a specific area. Clients are willing to pay more for writers who have that deep knowledge and experience.
So focus on becoming the go-to writer for that niche, and you'll be in high demand.
Exactly. And don't be shy about showcasing your expertise in your profile, your writing samples, and when you're networking.
Great advice. But what about those times when you're feeling stuck or uninspired? How do you stay creative and avoid burnout?
Writer's block and burnout are common for freelancers, but there are ways to deal with them. One of the best strategies is to take breaks and do things that feed your creativity.
So step away from the computer and do something you enjoy. Whether it's reading, listening to music, spending time in nature, or even just taking a nap.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to switch things up. If you're stuck on one project, try working on something else for a while. Sometimes all you need is a change of pace to get your creative juices flowing again.
I like that approach. It's all about finding what works for you and creating a routine that supports your creativity and well-being.
Absolutely. And self-care is so important for freelancers. Make time for things that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to get lost in the hustle and forget to take care of ourselves. But making self-care a priority is crucial for keeping up our energy, staying focused, and feeling good overall.
And don't hesitate to reach out for support from other freelancers or mental health professionals if you're struggling. There's no shame in asking for help, and it can make a world of difference.
I couldn't agree more. It's important to remember we're not alone in this. There's a whole community of freelancers out there who get it. They understand the challenges and rewards of this lifestyle.
And let's not forget to celebrate our successes. Acknowledge your accomplishments, big and small, and give yourself credit for all the hard work you're putting in.
I love that. It's easy to get caught up in the daily grind and forget to appreciate how far we've come. Celebrating our wins, no matter how small, can boost our confidence and keep us going.
Speaking of motivation, let's talk about setting goals. Goals give us direction and purpose, and they help us stay focused on what we want to achieve.
So how do we set effective goals as freelancers?
One popular method is the SMART goals framework. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So instead of saying something general like earn more money, you'd set a specific goal like land 3 new clients this quarter.
Exactly. When your goals are specific, measurable, and have a deadline, you can track your progress and hold yourself accountable.
I love that approach. It takes the guesswork out of goal setting and gives you a clear path to follow. But let's be real, sometimes even the best plans don't work out. How do we handle setbacks and stay resilient when things get tough?
That's a great question, and it's something every freelancer will face at some point. The key is to look at setbacks as opportunities to grow and learn.
So instead of getting discouraged when things don't go as planned, try to figure out what went wrong and what you can do differently next time.
Exactly. And remember, failing doesn't mean you're not successful. It's just part of the journey. Learn from your mistakes and use them to fuel your growth.
I love that way of looking at it. It's all about shifting your perspective and seeing challenges as chances to improve. But let's not forget to celebrate our successes along the way. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to acknowledge our accomplishments.
Absolutely. Celebrating our wins, no matter how big or small, can really lift our spirits, keep us motivated, and remind us of how far we've come.
So whether it's landing a new client, completing a challenging project, or even just reaching a personal milestone, take the time to appreciate your achievements and give yourself credit for all the hard work you're doing.
And don't be afraid to share your successes with others. Let your friends, family, and other freelancers know about your accomplishments. Not only will it boost your confidence, it might also inspire someone else to go after their dreams.
I love that. It's all about creating a supportive community and celebrating each other's wins. So we've talked a ton about making TextBroker work for you, but I'm kind of curious about what comes after. Is TextBroker just a stepping stone, or can you really build a whole career there?
That's a great question, and it's something these resources go back and forth on a lot. Some writers use TextBroker as their main income source, especially if they find a niche they like and build those strong relationships with clients. We even saw one writer who's been on the platform for over 10 years and makes six figures.
Whoa, six figures. That's wild. Is that like the norm, though, or more of a rare thing?
Definitely more of an exception. What we're seeing in these resources is that most writers use TextBroker as a starting point. Get some experience, build up their portfolio, and then branch out to other platforms, work directly with clients, or even start their own content agencies.
So it's kind of like a boot camp for freelance writing. You learn the ropes, get some practice, and then decide if you want to stay in the game or forge your own path.
I like that analogy.
Yep.
And the best part is you're not locked into any one direction. You can try different things out, experiment with different niches, and see what clicks.
Okay, that's good to hear. It feels less like a do-or-die situation and more like an open exploration. But let's say you're ready to move beyond TextBroker. What are some of the options for writers looking to level up?
One path we saw a lot was content marketing agencies. They're always on the lookout for good writers, especially those with specific expertise.
So instead of working directly with clients, you'd be on a team creating content for different companies. That sounds like a cool way to get exposure to different industries and writing styles.
And a lot of times these agencies pay better than sites like TextBroker because they're offering a more specialized service.
Makes sense. But what if you'd rather work on your own? Are there options for going solo beyond TextBroker?
Oh, yeah, totally. A bunch of writers talked about their experiences with sites like Upwork and Fiverr, where you can create a profile, highlight your skills, and basically apply for projects from all over the world.
So it's like TextBroker, but bigger and with more variety in terms of the projects and clients you can work with.
Exactly. And another popular route is pitching directly to businesses. If you found a niche you like, do some research on companies in that space and reach out to them with your services.
That sounds a little more proactive and maybe even kind of scary. What advice do these resources have for people who want to pitch directly to clients?
One thing that stood out was to make your pitches personal. Don't just send out generic emails. Take the time to understand what the company needs and tailor your message to that. Show them you've done your homework and you really get their business.
So it's about showing your value, not just your ability to write. It's about proving you can solve their content problems and help them reach their goals.
You got it. And another suggestion was to offer a free sample or a trial project to show off your skills and build some trust.
Okay, so it's about proving yourself, not just talking about how good you are. But what if you want even more independence? Can build a whole business around your writing.
Definitely. We saw several writers who created their own content agencies or freelance writing businesses. It takes more work on the business side, but the potential rewards can be huge.
So we're talking building a brand, marketing your services, managing clients and projects. It sounds exciting, but also a little overwhelming.
It definitely takes work, but everyone's stressed starting small. Don't try to do everything at once. Focus on a solid foundation, a strong portfolio, a clear niche, and a good network of people you can rely on.
So start with what you know. Build on your strengths and slowly expand as you get more experience and confidence.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. There are tons of resources out there for freelance writers, online communities, courses, coaching, even just supportive friends and family. Don't be afraid to ask for help or advice along the way.
This has been such a deep dive into TextBroker and the whole world of freelance writing. I feel like we've gone beyond just the practical stuff and really explored the bigger picture, the why and what's next.
I agree. And I really hope our listeners feel inspired and ready to jump into this world, whether they choose to stick with TextBroker, explore other platforms, or even build their own writing business.
It's all about finding what works for you, embracing the challenges, and never stopping learning and growing. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be featuring our listeners' success story on a future deep dive.
That would be awesome. We always love to hear from writers who are making their mark. So to our listener, we're rooting for you every step of the way. Keep writing, keep learning, and keep sharing your unique voice with the world.
Perfectly said. And remember, the power of words is in your hands. Go out there and make something amazing.
Until next time, happy writing.